from LinkedIn Live, our Wednesday regular 11 a.m. Mountain Time get together. I want to talk to you today about some of our case studies that we have had recently with great success in terms of immigration so that you can learn a little bit more about what it is we do, the incredible team we have at Ackah Law. So the first one I'm going to talk about, of course, no client names, but I'm going to talk about a client that had trouble entering the US, a Canadian business was doing a lot of relatively getting more and more US agreements and contracts to do things that were on the edge between what's considered a business visitor and what's considered working in the US. And at some point, they were told, you need to get a work permit. We're not going to let you through anymore. And so that obviously was when I got the frantic call. I think it was actually an evening. It was around 6 o'clock and I was still working. And this president of the company called and said, "Oh my goodness, I'm stuck. I need help. I need to enter urgently and we're not working, but this big contract is on the line if we can't get into the US." And so I remember staying late that evening and back and forth between emails, documents, telephone calls. We put together at that point a NAFTA business visitor letter explaining what they were doing, kind of after sales service, just something that would help him get over the next day. So he was successful getting over the next day and then immediately retained us to help with three NAFTA L1 visa applications because he's realized at that point when you get pushback from CBP and they say this is not happening again, you have to get the work permit or you're not going to get through for any business purposes. So we were fortunate enough to be able to assist him and his two executives. We were able to get them all three NAFTA L1As for work permits so that they could do work in the United States and expand their business and their breadth and their scope. And their client base has significantly grown because they no longer have issues with crossing the border. And they received 3-year work permits, which is really a success because realistically, they were just starting up in the US. And normally you only get 1 year. At Ackah Law, we always do two packages, one for 3 years and one for 1 year, just in case in a situation where they're seen as a startup and it's a new Office L1, that they may have the possibility of getting 3 years. And we want to make sure our clients get value for the funds that they're investing in us to do the work. So that was a really wonderful approval. We got those done between December and early January, and now they're good to go and life is good for them. So that's our first story. The other case status I'd like to talk about is one of our clients who comes from Chile, and she was in Canada. Interestingly enough, her young daughter, was attending school, and she also had a study permit, the mother, but she wanted to start her business and start working, and she had a business back home in Chile that was very successful doing medical supplies, something like that. And so I said to her, "Well, let's talk about this because you don't want to be having to go to school when really your plan is you want to expand your business." And she was already here. So we were able to incorporate a related entity here in Alberta to her business back in Chile and her as the president CEO. And then we were able to prepare a port of entry intercompany transfer executive into Canada work permit so that um, she could apply for her new work permit to launch the Canadian business. One of the challenges with this file was she was traveling over the holidays and there was some issue with her ETA. So, as usual, we're on call when our clients are traveling. And so we were able to assist her move through the process with the ETA so that she could get a new ETA. And she arrived and received her 3-year work permit. Again, a real win because normally, if it's a new business in Canada, similar to the L1, you only get 1 year first. We always try to get as much time as possible for our clients. So she was thrilled and was calling and texting and WhatsApping and just so relieved that this piece is done. And now she wants to come in and meet to talk about the future planning for her PR, for permanent residence, for citizenship, and even wants to talk about me assisting her with how she can grow her business in Canada. So we're going to have some discussions on that front shortly. This is the type of work we do at Ackah Law. We're able to be responsive and we're able to help clients. Um, Recently, I had somebody contact us and did a paid consultation, and they had done their own TN visa application. They thought was going to be simple, was refused. They were actually allowed to withdraw, which is great. A withdrawal is better than a refusal. So they were able to withdraw the application, and then they called us. And I was able to explain to this person that the reason this was refused was because, or withdrawn, was because just because you have a degree, let's say in commerce, doesn't mean you're eligible for a TN visa. It's you have to fit into the 70 professional boxes, the designations. And if you have a commerce degree, there is no business TN visa. So we worked with him on the consultation to explain that it needed to be either as a NAFTA management consultant or he would be working in some capacity other than a TN visa. So in that case, we were able to support the client. We had to do the whole application again, focused on NAFTA management consultant with an agreement, with his full understanding that he was going to be arm's length consultant and no longer an employee, so that he could apply for his TN and get that done. So this is the type of work we do. We really do specialize and focus at Ackah Law on coming into Canada from all over the world and cross-border from Canada to the United States for Canadians and Americans into Canada, as well as Mexicans into Canada. So if you have any questions at all and you'd like to talk about any cross-border issues from a Nexus Pass, refusal to sending a whole team over to do work or for training or conferences, we would love to assist you. So please do follow us on all of our social media. You can see all of that below and you can find us online. And we look forward to next week's LinkedIn Live. Thanks so much. Maybe you will be a case study in the future with a successful application.